I have for you today one of the most cringe-inducing interviews I've seen in my time doing this type of thing in online media and broadcast media. So this apparently, I have to back up a little bit. Candace Owens. Candace Owens is this sort of fabricated black conservative hero, very well funded. She has quickly become a darling of the pro-Trump right. And she, I guess, has a new show. The show is part of the outrageously right-wing Prager University on YouTube, connected with outrageous right-winger Dennis Prager. So I guess she has a show there now. I don't know how new it is. I've never seen it before. I think it's pretty new. Yesterday, I saw the first episode of My Life. And one of these first episodes contains an interview with cultural critic Dave Rubin, okay? The interview is a case study in sophistry and faux intellectualism, but I don't even really want to call it that. It's not even faux intellectualism. No one would actually mistake it for that. It's more like faux intellectualism. It's faux intellectualism that even fails to be that, if you can imagine. And it was rife with just a panoply of not even just bad ideas, but obviously dumb ideas, widely debunked ideas, and I felt the cringe, like the hairs on my arms went up because my body physically could not tolerate the meaningless and vapid nature of this discussion, all framed as reasonable people talking about ideas and pointing out how terrible and off the rails everybody else is, including, of course, primarily the American left. This is an hour long or an hour and 5 or 10 minutes long. I don't know that I would recommend that you watch it all. If you do, you can put it on 2x speed on YouTube and get through the bulk of it in like 25 minutes without including the first and last minutes, which are sort of like a wind up and a wind down where Dave Rubin and Candace Owens just throw bouquets at each other. I'm not going to include any of that here today. So I'm just skipping around. This is not a comprehensive tour of the interview. You can randomly drop in at any point during this thing, and you're going to find a treasure trove of absurdity. But let's start with this moment sort of early in the interview where Candace Owens tells Dave Rubin that she's going to confront him and call him out. And of course, this is meant to show that they're not scared of disagreement. Everyone can respectfully disagree and get along and no one gets offended. Except what she wants to call him out about is that he's simply too smart to be a classical liberal. He's too smart to have the word liberal associated with him at all, even though classical liberalism is very right-wing. So she wants to call him out. Wow, what courage it took from Candace Owens. Take a look.
And I'm going to call you out on something.
Yes, let's fight,
we're already
please.
2 minutes in.
Yeah,
right?
we're
So
2 minutes in. We
to
said
it.
nice things about each other.
I'm so sick of you saying that you're a classical liberal. It makes me physically nauseous, okay? The whole world knows that there's just no way. You're too practical, you're too smart, and you're not one of those people that's, I'm still learning. We've watched your stuff, okay? You've spoken to so many people. You have an in-depth knowledge of things that, you've done stuff on even drugs and psychedelics, and you're like a wealth of knowledge, and yet you insist on calling yourself a classical liberal, and it's cheap and it's ending today.
Well, first off, I want to thank you for putting vodka in here because that's going to help this portion of the conversation. Okay, so look, I am a classical liberal, and I would argue if we sit here long enough, I can get you to admit that you're a classical liberal too.
This is, I mean, it's difficult to watch. It's really difficult to watch. You're just too smart for being anything with the word liberal in it. Of course, totally ignorant of the fact that small L liberalism is not progressivism in the sort of modern American context. And Rubin is right. He probably could convince her that she's a classical liberal, because classical liberalism is just a semantic game for conservatism or a particular brand of it. We did a long expose about it. I don't need to get into it, but conservatives now are playing this sort of semantic game with classical liberalism. Okay, let's go to another point where Candace Owens defends Alex Jones. Now, this is just amazing. Recently, she said Hitler's problem was going beyond Germany with his goals. She skipped over the killing of 6 million Jews. If Hitler had simply remained a nationalist versus becoming a globalist, wrong use of the word globalist, but it doesn't matter, then that would have been a whole other thing, and Hitler would have been much more reasonable. Here she is defending Alex Jones.
I think if there's one thing that I've learned, and I'm constantly growing and learning, it's just that I actually really have a problem with the way that social media has banned certain people. Like I've probably watched 10 minutes of the Alex Jones show of InfoWars of his show, and it was the 10 minutes that I was on it when I first started, right? Yeah. And I sat next to him, and to be honest, he kind of is like a WWE style, like screaming at the mic, and nothing that he said, or at least while I was sitting there, and again, I'm ignorant, I'm pleading ignorance here, was something that is worthy of being banned from every platform. And they're also banning people in the ways they make income, and you can't use PayPal and you can't use Stripe.
You can't, and this has happened with Chase Bank now too. I mean, it's happened with all sorts of things. Yeah.
And my whole perspective is that it's today you, tomorrow me.
Understand what she's saying. I've never seen any Alex Jones except for the 10 minutes when he was interviewing me. And during those 10 minutes, he didn't say anything that was ban-worthy. So therefore, it's wrong for him to be banned from any platforms. What about the persistent peddling of conspiracy theories leading to legal action against him? What about the multiple large-scale bullying campaigns of individuals breaking every element of the terms and conditions of private companies who I thought Candace would support having their rights as private companies to decide who's on their platform and who isn't respected? Or does she think that that's not to be respected? And it's so brilliant. I might be ignorant, but in the 10 minutes I was on the Alex Jones show, which she claims are the only 10 minutes she's ever seen, she didn't see anything that justified a ban of Alex Jones on any platform. Sounds like she's super well placed to be the person deciding what what platforms should be doing with Alex Jones, right? I mean, this is just idiocy at the highest level. Then they go into sort of race and IQ stuff, again, with this totally bogus notion that the left doesn't want to talk about so-called biological realities. It's all about being real and a realist, and they start sort of dancing around it. Take a look.
Speaking of feminism, feminism and trans debate, like how's that gonna kind of go in together? Because I thought feminism, classic feminism, we want equality with men, and we've carved out all of these spaces for us in sports, and now all of a sudden men can, if you talk about the patriarchy, can step into what we're doing and beat us at everything,
men
because biologically, right, they can do that. I don't want men abusing women unless they're wrestling them and saying they identified in a chokehold.
Yeah.
And it's insane to me that this is okay. Like, this is even a debate or a discussion.
Well, this is what they do. They stake out crazy positions and then they make you negotiate backwards. So like, look, the worst player in the NBA, the worst male professional basketball player would be the MVP of the WNBA.
That's exactly right.
That's just true. I don't take some great pleasure in saying
transphobic.
That. Yeah, I remember there was this woman when the
So this is straw manning on multiple levels. First of all, they're mostly talking about issues that, number one, aren't really that important. Like, okay, I agree that there is a reasonable position to take that if you were born biologically male, does it make sense for you to compete in wrestling against individuals born biologically female? Probably not. It's not transphobic, but it's also not a big issue. It's not a significantly important issue in our culture. It doesn't connect to, listen, if people born biologically male can wrestle women, then the next thing you know, I don't even know, right? I mean, this is straw manning as in that, in the sense that these are not even really the most important issues. But it's also straw manning in that if you want to talk about equality between men and women, it's not about people born biologically male who get to wrestle against women, right? That doesn't destroy feminism. This is not something that the left is even consumed with. Many people don't think if you're born biologically male, people on the left, you should be able to wrestle women. And it's just really not a major issue. If you're talking about chess, for example, where the division between men and women is more because there are more male grandmasters and you want to incentivize women to participate, and if they are competing in a group that is women, well, we've talked about this, right? But if you're born biologically male and you are a trans woman and you want to participate in women's chess, who cares? I mean, like, of course, that's completely fine. This is just not the hill on which anyone is holding this debate, and they're pretending that that's the case. And then they get into this biological realities farce that the left just doesn't want to talk about biological realities.
when I remember when the WNBA started, there was this woman, Cynthia Cooper, who played on the Houston, I think they were the Houston Comets, and she was awesome. She was awesome. But I remember thinking she would be a scrub in the NBA. You know what I mean? Because she was still small. Women generally are smaller. She wasn't really that fast compared to the way a fast man is. These are just biological realities. And they don't want us to be able to talk about biological realities. I don't like seeing those pictures. When I see a trans athlete, so a male to female trans athlete choking a woman, and then I see the women on the left and the Women's March and that crew, the feminists defending that, because they've created this intersectional pyramid where now trans is sort of above female, and Islam is above that, and this is above that, and this is above that.
This is just so stupid, right? Who could watch this and say, you know what, that's really insightful and interesting. This is a clinic on straw manning. They've set up and agreed upon false pillars of feminism and trans rights. And now they're in their echo chamber agreeing about how bad it is that the left doesn't want to talk about this stuff. They've set the parameters of the debate in a fraudulent way. This is not the real debate that is happening. And then they critique it. This is how an echo chamber works. By the way, the whole they don't want to talk about biological realities. There is no biological reality that the left in total doesn't want to talk about. You can find individuals who have views that are wacky, and there are plenty of individuals on the right that have wacky views. Usually when they talk about biological realities, they eventually get to race and IQ. And we know the biological realities there. They are not the realities of the so-called race realists. And it's not that the left isn't allowing a conversation about it. It's that it's been widely researched. We're bored by it at this point. Insisting that black people are dumber because they are black on the basis of IQ tests, it's old news, it's boring, and you're not someone who is shutting down debate because you're sick of the old, tired, debunked debate. So that's a little bit of the show. It's stunning that I think in some conservative circles, what you just saw counts as like nuanced discussion. If you were to parody such an interview, if you were to parody an interview between Candace Owens and Dave Rubin, it would be identical. I mean, it's indistinguishable from a parody of itself. Also important to mention, they talk about the free market of ideas. This is not the free market because these are really well-funded operations. PragerU, which is extraordinarily well-funded, brought in Candace Owens, and now she's in this position where, wow, this is the free market. It's not. She was forced upon people by organizations like Turning Point USA and PragerU, and they don't even, they're not even subscribing to the principles they claim to. Let me know what you think. I'm on Twitter at @DPakman. Show is on Twitter @DavidPakman Show.